Hey, how you doing? It's a lovely day out, but it's freezing. I'm sitting in my garage with my electric blanket, and I'm waiting for the heat to come up. I have an insulated space out here, but it's still just like it's freezing. So when you're going into this topic, I was thinking, oh, there's not going to be all that much, but it turns out it's one of those topics that has way a ton, and we have to narrow it down. So let me show you some of the ways that I I tried to do that. First of all, what database do you search in? I started out in the library catalog just to see where is this going to show up. And there was some occupational therapy, there was some psychology, there was some like public policy, and it was kind of all over the place. So I'll show you where I start in a generic database called something something premium. Social science premium? Social science collection premium? I forget. It's under the letter S. It's a new database. I think we got it last fall. And I always search under S's for premium. Social science premium collection. I'd make a horrible car salesperson. Yeah, it's that one car that does the stuff and things. So social science premium collection has everything in social sciences. So there's millions of articles. Some are psychology, some are business, some are sociology, some are like culture, community, communication, some are applied therapy, some are like big social policies. It's just a mishmash of everything. It's a great place to start if you have a keyword. So if you type in firefighter, and I did a search for that, I found that sometimes it was referred to as firefighter, sometimes it was firefighters. I suppose it might be firefighting it sometimes too, but it's the name of a specific population, people who self-identify as a being part of a profession. So if you do firefighter with a star, it'll catch firefighter or firefighters. So we're good there. But look what happens. Look what happens really slowly. It is 3 million articles. How do we narrow down? We can add an and add other keywords. So we had like mental health. Sorry about the loud typing. The microphone is in the keyboard. If you do firefighter and mental health, that catches some of it, but does it catch the suicide ideation or does it catch depression? So I don't know. And so what you can do is called nesting, where you add all those different iterations with an or in between. Or depression. And I'm going to add anxiety because anxiety and depression are close buddies. They always like to hang out with each other. And so what it's doing here is it's looking for firefighter and then any one of those words. And what it's going to do with this is it's going to look in titles, abstracts, and the keywords list. It's not going to look in full text. And so that narrows it down considerably. But still, we're kind of like, it's not small enough to look through reasonably. 154,000 is way too much. So there's ways of narrowing it down further. One thing to be aware of is there's going to be other things mixed in other than scholarly articles. A good way to think of magazines is something written for all audiences. So you don't have to be a psychologist or you don't have to be a psychiatrist to read these. They're kind of general interest. But they're less rigorous and they use a lot of secondary and tertiary resources. So they're like talking to a doctor who has experience. And it's not necessarily scholarly. So we can narrow down to scholarly journals, and that might help. And there's a lot of dissertations in here too. Dissertations are great, but scholarly journals are typically where it's at because that's where scholars are talking to each other, like in a conference. So if we narrow down by medium, then we get down to 3,000 results. Mental health as a stigma, something that people were uneasy about, has changed dramatically over the last few decades. When I was a kid, you did not talk about it. If somebody said they had depression, they might lose their job, or they might be picked on or isolated. It was kind of weird. People didn't know what to do with it. And these days, especially when the Huntsman family donated like 150 million to mental health clinic in Utah, or not a clinic, a research center, that is a big signal that we're shifting towards, well, okay, maybe it's okay that we're all have potential disorders and things to work on. Let's work on it together. So it's less stigmatized in recent times. So I'm going to come into the last 5 years for publication date, but you could do last 10 years, last 12 months, you get to pick. But I'd say do stuff that's kind of in our current century. Because another one is drug interventions like Prozac, serotonin uptake inhibitors, were discovered in the late 80s, and then they went into commercial practice in the 90s, and they started out kind of blunt, and now we're on kind of a second generation of SSRIs, and maybe even like third generation in this current century. So that's another reason to omit those things. A lot has changed. So now we're down to 1553. That's great. But still, here's one that has like occupational mental health, but I don't see firefighter anywhere in there. So we could narrow it down even farther by going to advanced search. So advanced search, you can break out those chunks. So we have firefighter in the first line, and let's do this in the second line. So here you can see that and you don't have to have the parentheses around it this time. Oh, I put mental health in quotes because it's looking for mental health stuck together. So if you don't have it in quotes, it might look for mental and health here. And we don't need the and because it is written right there. And you can keep on adding rows and adding things. So for firefighter, I want this to be about that specific population. So you could do the document title, where firefighter is in the title, or you can go into abstract, which is kind of like the short version of what's going on in the article. So I think I'll go into abstract. Do you see how I'm like slowly narrowing it down to that more and more focused on what's going to be relevant to what you're looking for? You don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you these things. 18,000 results. Why did that happen? Because it missed my sorting options. So I have to go back down and sort to scholarly journals. And if you want to, you could even go to peer-reviewed journals. Scholarly journals and all peer-reviewed journals are scholarly, but not all scholarly journals are peer-reviewed. So if you need to have peer-reviewed, it's just an extra level of awesomeness and anti-bias in the research. It's like you're having a bunch of your psychiatrist or sociologist buddies check out your article before it's published. So it's your peers that are reviewing it. And do the last 5 years. So this is a lot of sorting. And typically when you have a topic, if you don't have very many articles, you wouldn't have to sort this far. But 240, that's actually pretty sustainable. And you could go and just read through these and see what are you interested in. One other way that you could do, though, is that this body of 240 articles is awesome. These are the ones that you want, if this is the case. And then you can go through, since you're doing a literature review, you could go through subject. And these are like the keywords or the subjects that have been provided by the authors of these articles. And you could sort through and see what are the subjects of these articles, since we've narrowed it down. So you could see there's contexts like occupational health. There's disorders that have criteria that define them, like PTSD. There's specific things where they're talking about depression. There's instruments that they use to determine what the problems were. There's other disorders. I don't know. Burnout is loosely defended or defined. It's not loosely defended. Trying to think. Oh, there's other things you can look at. There was one that I saw that was really good. Oh, there's gender. There's specific methodology. So the methodology is they gather data and then how they analyze the data. There's if somebody is at risk of suicide ideation or depression. So you could go through these, and this might help you sort out your bibliography as you go. Sleep is a big one. Or what do they call that? Missing sleep? Sleep deprivation. Okay, so what if... Oh, that's cool. It said ab as in abstract. So what if you wanted to find the most important articles written about this? Let me show you one more database. So PsycInfo is a good database to go to. Social work databases are good to go to. There's another one called Web of Science where you can sort by the number of times something has been cited. So if you want to find the articles that made the biggest difference, you could do that search again, just like we did in the last database. Pardon me for just a second. Okay, so, I don't need that in parentheses either. I don't want this database to get confused. So I can go and look in abstract. Where's my abstract? Oh no, can I not search abstract in this one? Topic, funding agency, organization, all fields, accession number, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they don't have abstract in this one. How bizarre. I thought they did. Okay, well, let me show you what I was going to talk about. And then you can work with these sorting fields. So this database works just like the last one, except this one is wildly multidisciplinary. So this has engineering, social sciences, humanities, all of those things in there. But what you can do, so there's only 432 because this is like top tier journals. It's not as expansive as the other one. It's only like the cream of the crop. So there's no magazines in this one. But what you can do out of all the articles published in the last 40, 35 years, you can see with your keywords which ones have been cited the most. So if you click on this time cited, you can see what articles have had the greatest impact in their field of study. So this one, Rescuers at Risk. So a systematic review is where they look, it's a literature review really. But that one's been cited 235 times. That's a big deal. That's 235 other scholarly articles that could not exist unless they cited this one. But if you wanted to look for original studies, here's like World Trade Center. So they're doing a 5-year assessment of a screening program. And so this might have a great instrument for you. But this was cited 190 times. Some of these are really get into the weeds. So this is like brain function. That might be going too far in. Predicting PTSD for firefighters, and so on and so forth. So if you want to find those, and some of these go back before that date range. So you could narrow by date as well and see the most impactful articles. So this is a great database to work in. One last thing is if you go to any database and you find that there's no full text, if it just has this little find it button, to get the full text from any of these, you just click on the find it button and our library databases will look for it. And if it can't find it, it will set you up with an interlibrary loan link. So here's the database that it's in. Annual reviews. So here's the rule of thumb though, is sometimes this doesn't work. And if you spend maybe like a minute or two looking for an article and you can't get to the full text of the article, send me the citation and I'll track it down for you. It happens all the time. But here's the full text of that article. Okay? Let me know how it goes. I think you have a great topic. There's going to be too much written about it, and you just have to narrow it down to things that you're interested in. Okay?